All right, so I try and make anything I do as relevant to the people who are listening to me at that moment. So where are you guys? Like, how many of you are undergrads? Show of hands. Virtually everyone? Oh my God, let's do that again. So how many of you are seniors? Juniors? Sophomores? And freshmen? All right, good stuff. All right, so I'm going to talk to you as if you're juniors. Because I was just going to land in the middle somewhere. It's all good. So the theme is going to be the flow of talent. And the graphic that kicks us off, if I can get this thing to go. Hey, Mike, where do I point this thing? Oh, sorry. Green. Thank you. Or should I just click this thing? Yeah. So this is the graphic we're going to use to kick off the discussion. And for those of you who are seniors, this might be more familiar than if you're a freshman. So what this graphic represents is that it's a lot easier for a young, smart person right now to become a banker, consultant, or lawyer than it is to do just about anything else. And I resemble this. I graduated from Brown in '96 and did not know what I wanted to do. So I went to law school, which clarifies absolutely nothing. So for those of you who are thinking about law school, you should know that awaits if you do that. So I graduated from law school, and not knowing what I wanted to do still, I became an M&A and banking attorney in New York, because that's what you did out of Columbia if you didn't know what to do. I was there for about 5 months, and I went home kind of dispirited that Thanksgiving to my parents. And I said, you know, Mom and Dad, like when I was young, I didn't dream about being the scribe. I dreamt about going in the woods and killing something. And they, of course, didn't know what I was talking about. But I then went back to my job and said, you know what? I feel like, you know, I'd like to try and build something, but I don't know if I have the wherewithal. So I took a week off from work and then tried to start this company. Made enough of what felt like progress so that I then went and quit my job and then started a .com. This was around 2000. Had its mini rise and maximum fall. We raised about $250,000, got some press, but then the bubble burst. And how old were you guys when the bubble burst in 2001? 8, 9. So do you guys have any recollection of that time? Maybe your parents were watching CNBC very sad for a little while or something like that? Anything like that? I mean, there are adults among you who remember this stuff. So when the bubble burst, it was like a giant hand went through the streets of New York and swept away any company that was not nailed down, which included my little outfit. So at this point, I'm 25. I've just lost investors about $250,000. I still owe $100,000 in law school debt. And my parents are like, what happened? You used to be smart. But at this point, I've been bitten by the bug and said, you know what, I think I really want to do this. I really want to learn how to build a business, create a company. So I'm going to submit this to you. So what should young Andrew do now? 25, lying on his floor, looking up at the ceiling. Like, what's the next step? Try again. But how to try again, given that I just raised money and lost, and it's like 2001, 2002, when no one wants to invest in anything? Wow, I don't know what that means. So I'm going to submit something else to you. Let's say you want to become a chef really bad. What might you do? Chef school, what's another possibility? Get a job where? Right, you would take your chef knife out and you would go down on one knee and you would go to someone and say, be my master, right? You'd find someone who's like a better chef. So that's what I did. I found an experienced entrepreneur, and I became his lieutenant, his VP of something or other. And so for 4 years, I supported him as that company raised about $7 million and went to $3 million in revenue. And then I became the CEO of a company called Manhattan GMAT. Has anyone heard of Manhattan GMAT? Junior, seniors, maybe? So Manhattan GMAT grew from being a relatively small GMAT boutique to #1 in the US over the next 5 or 6 years, to the point where we were acquired by the Washington Post in 2009, because we were #1 in the US, Washington Post owns Kaplan, we were beating the tar out of Kaplan, Kaplan got tired of it, so the CEO calls me and says, hey, let's talk, we have a little bidding process, and then the company gets acquired. So it's one of the reasons why I'm very familiar with this particular picture, because many of the people that my company served at Manhattan GMAT were bankers and consultants who then weren't really finding what they were looking for as 20-something-year-olds, and so they would take the GMAT, apply to business school, and then go to business school. All right, so I'm going to continue with this. So let's take a look at what the actual numbers are. So let's take Harvard's class of 2011. What were the most common things to do at a Harvard a year ago? Shout them out. Yes, finance, consulting, law, not accounting. And the fourth is med school. So the question is, what proportion of Harvard students did one of those four things? All right, so I've got between 40 and 90%, and as usual, the wisdom of crowds, the truth is exactly in the middle. So it's 65%. And then you have the potpourri category, which is a little bit of everything. It's grad school, nonprofits, industry, government, IT, military. Then you have its own line item, Teach for America. 18% apply, 4% actually become Teach for America core members. And then undecided. So 10% went to Europe and then became consultants. So this is the picture from Harvard a year ago. So let me get some feedback. Is this surprising, unsurprising? Not surprising. And now I'm going to throw the normative question out there. Is this a good thing, a bad thing, or neutral? Wow, that one's fraught, right? All right, so let's keep on going. So if you take a look at other top schools, the picture's the same. The picture is the same here at Georgetown. I didn't pull the Georgetown stats, but they're quite similar. And so you can see that it's not just a Harvard thing. It's really any top school thing. And I've spoken at 40 universities around the country, and they all say the same thing. So what does that mean in terms of our country, let's say regionally? So if you have half your smart kids becoming bankers, consultants, and lawyers, where are they going to live? New York, DC, maybe Chicago, Boston, San Francisco, LA. Those are the top 6. We just listed the top 4. So then you have the rest of the country, much of which is struggling with job growth and economic development. And one of the things we think this graphic represents is that if you're a smart kid from, let's say, Florida, who comes to Georgetown, the odds of you becoming a banker, consultant, and lawyer and living in New York, Boston, DC, very high. Odds of you going back to Florida, starting a business, doing something that creates jobs opportunities very low. You end up with a systematic talent drain on most of the country if they happen to get identified by a national university, and then this is the picture you end up with. What do you guys think? Empirically true? Absolutely. Wow. All right. We're starting to get something. Good stuff. So, why is this the case? And those of you who are freshmen, raise your hands again. How many of you who have your hands up, keep them up, know what management consulting is? All right, so how is it that world goes from that to, let's say, 20% of the class, like, at least applying for consulting jobs and maybe even converting? Like, how does that happen? Seniors, chime in, please. Money's there. What else? Keep going. Sorry? Security. Fear. Keep going, keep going. Yes, resources. This is not an accident. People spend money and time educating the market. That is all of you over your 4 years. By the time you're a senior, you'll know the names: McKinsey, Bain, BCG, Deloitte, et cetera, et cetera. All right, let's take a look at how this list looks. Prestige, easy to find. Progress, seek the next level, opens doors. Money's on the list, gain skills, community. And then there's this last one, which is something pro-social, like change the world. And this even applies if you become a banker consultant, because the theory is you must become a baller before you can come back and change the world, right? It's like, and then you can come back to the people with loaves of bread. But, so those of you who are seniors, can I get a yes, this is accurate? All right, thank you. So now I usually talk to people who are interested in startups, so this is a little bit overly broad. But let's say you are interested in startups. I'm going to show of hands as to how many of you are actually interested in startups. So a significant subset, right? So the seniors among you, why is it that it's unlikely you're actually going to go work for a startup when you graduate? Risky. Money. Loans. It's pretty much the opposite of the last slide, right? It's like you're not recruited, it's hard to find, there's no structured path, there's no community or peer group, unclear prospects for training, advancement, or success, no network, idea, money, tech, proficiency. But a lot of you really want to, and then you talk about doing it, but first you want to quote unquote learn about business and then come back. Is this accurate? Am I, it's like I was one of you. All right, so here's the big question that Venture for America seeks to answer. What would happen if the same proportion of talent that is currently flowing to banking, consulting, and law school were instead going to startups around the country? How long would that take to impact job growth and innovation nationwide? How many years? Can I get an over-under on this? 5. 1. Wow. That's belief. That's self-belief. You should become an entrepreneur. So between 1 and 5 years. And so we see, we as in, certain people, we see that there are structural forces that make this reality very difficult to achieve. Because if you think about who can come get you here in this collection of intellectual capital, it's high-resource organizations from high-resource industries. And so startups are actually neither of those things. Startups are generally low-resource, and they also don't have the time horizon. They can't recruit you 8 months in advance. They don't need 20 of you. It's all real time. And if they came, they would have a hard time competing. So how would you go about trying to fix this problem if you decided that this is a vision worth achieving? If you said, you know what, like this is actually potentially a rosier picture. And speaking personally, I believe it's even a rosier picture for the individual, because there's something about what you do that comes to define you over a period of years. You will actually become a different person. And this is something, if there's one thing you remember from this, as a young person, you imagine that you are a static self. Like, I'm young Andrew, and I say, hey, I'm going to do X, and then I'm still going to be Andrew, I just will have done X. But the truth is, Andrew changes if you have him go to law school, or be in a law firm, or look at contracts all day or whatnot. Like, we're all very adaptable. And so, in my view, the activities that lead you down this road, the startup road, actually end up forming a different self that I'm going to go on a limb and say, for some of you, would be more appealing. But so if you were to want to try and affect this change, what would you do? Yeah, maybe you tinker with the educational system. Yes. So what you do is, well, if you were me, what you would do is you'd go raise $1 million and then start an organization that does this. So I've started an organization called Venture for America, and this is particularly relevant for the seniors among you. We recruit top college graduates from around the country. If you get into the program, we bring you to a training camp with, let's say, 80 other ass kickers who all want to be entrepreneurs. We train you. McKinsey comes, IDEO comes, Cambridge Leadership Academy comes, David Tisch comes from Techstars. Like, everyone comes, trains you, and then you go in groups of 10 or so to a city that needs talent, and you work at a startup there with an existing entrepreneur. So what we're doing here, and this is, I'm going to do something I shouldn't do, but whatever, I'm going to do it. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to give you all of these things that you want, because it's prestigious, it's ultra-selective. All of these things, progress, opens doors, you get a community, you get the whole thing. Because we are adults, and if we want you to do something, we shouldn't expect you to have to somehow swim against some violent current to do it. We should actually pave the path. And so that's what Venture for America is about. It's about giving you all of these things that you want, that we know you want, in order to do what you want to do and what the country wants you to do. And that's build a business in Detroit, New Orleans, New Haven, Baltimore, Cleveland, Providence, et cetera, et cetera. So Venture for America is in the process of doing this. If you come into the program, you agree to work for a startup company for 2 years with an existing entrepreneur at around, let's say, 36 or 38K a year, which doesn't sound like a lot of money, but the guys in Detroit, whom I'm visiting next week, they're living in a fancy building with a pool and a gym for $400 a month. So you actually can live pretty well. Plus, they've got 11 buddies around, and they have little road trips, and they have a good time. And then throughout the 2 years, we supply you with programming and support, and at the end of the 2 years, we give $100K in seed funding to whoever's made it through the 2 years and has done a good job. So it's like a combination of everything you guys grew up watching: Real World, Survivor, Road Rules. So this is the plan. We're going to create 100,000 new US jobs by 2025, and I just want to bring it back to the theme. What you guys do is all important. intellectual capital attracts financial capital, as well as the reverse. If you had enough talented people heading in this direction, then you would see the impact that we're talking about in terms of job creation and innovation. So this is our goal as an organization, to revitalize American cities and communities through entrepreneurship, to enable our best and brightest, that's all of you, to create new opportunities for themselves and others, and to restore the culture of achievement to include value creation, risk and reward, and the common good. I think I'm before my time, but that's cool. That's all I had to say. So thank you all.